Alright, welcome back. This is Francisco bringing another educational lesson. So there's been a lot of confusion. I was the same way. I was confused most of my life. And I didn't really understand, especially everything I was fed. You only come to one conclusion, that shit's bullshit, right? That's the only conclusion you come to. Like, that's just good. I feel it in me. I kind of feel like there's a God, but that shit is crazy, man. That shit is crazy, and you will catch yourself. You catch yourself talking to the Creator, and you're like, in the most worst times, you be talking to Him, and He's saving you. The whole time, you're like almost like an atheist, but that's just because your inability to get your ass up and study. And this is the problem with us Negroes and all of other people, whether it be amalgamations or there be sojourners, not even part of our nation. The problem is, you think studying is reading the Bibles that they manipulated, and especially the parts they manipulated, and holding that to heart like that came from God's mouth. When he says study to show yourself approved, he doesn't mean read this one Bible when there was thousands of Bibles before it. Read this one Bible when there's archaeological evidence in the world. Read this one Bible when there's inscriptions in stone. Read this one Bible when there's so much history that you're a part of. That's your family, and you're separated from it. And to the point where you think that's other people. You think that's them. You think, no, that's not me. That's those guys. Not realizing that's you. And then what did they do? They flipped it on you. They made you evil. They made you the best criminal. They made you the best sodomizer. They made you the best pimp. You get any girl in the whole freaking anywhere. You pick up any woman and you had sex with her, and it never really amounts to anything, right? Right? Whether it be you, whether it be her, you gotta understand. They took both of us and they wringed our necks, and they taught us stuff to make us divide against each other, and they taught us how to be feminine, and they taught them how to be masculine, and they switched the roles, they reversed the roles, and you can't have a successful relationship when it's so erratic. They know, like, everything in the world, everything is created. There's a creation to it. Everything has a purpose. Everything is by design. That's what I'm trying to say. There's a design to it. So they designed it for us to be this way, and we have to overcome it. And the only way you can do it is if you stop listening to everything they're saying as if it's from God, and you take it upon yourself and you research this for yourself. And that's when you're going to find the answers. And not only are you going to find the answers, but you're going to see, however long you've lived, how this compares to your life, how what you're seeing compares to what you're learning, and how it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense of what is going on in the world, especially if you're so-called conscious, and you're piercing into this underground knowledge of the governments and all these things that are harming us today and affecting our lives. Then when you pierce into this, then you understand why. You understand the big theory of why they dumbed you down, or why they lied to you about who you were and what had happened and what's the truth. It's because if you don't know who you are, how are you gonna ever be anything? Every movie you watch, every TV show you watch, from when you was born, it was the white man, the good old white man, the good old any man, but a brown and black man. You had really any of them that you could look up to. That's why they destroyed Bill Cosby and all the others. It's because they don't want you to excel in life unless you're caught up in their system, and to where you're easily manipulated and controlled, and they put money in your face, so everything's about money, and they throw pussy at you, and there's pussy everywhere. Because if all you're thinking about is pussy, you're never gonna grow, you're never gonna mature, you're never gonna get this knowledge if all you're thinking about is pussy. So you have to wake up. When he says study to show yourself approved, it's because he left so much for you to learn. He left so much eggs in all these baskets. Every book, everybody in life who has wanted to do something special. I'm gonna research this and spend my whole entire life. Some families have spent the whole entire life, 1,000 years, researching certain stuff. And every one of them, you can find something that pertains to the big picture, that can make it clear for you. They always say, oh, white man this, white man that. Okay, you're listening to the white man today who lies to you, who kills you, who marginalizes you. And you say, yeah, they're telling me the truth because it sounds good. I was Pharaoh. I was in Egypt, and that's it. That's what we're going to say. And then you slaves, that's it. But what you don't understand is if you listen to their grandparents, or I got a runny nose. You listen to their great-great-grandparents, their great-great-grandparents, they're telling you the truth. Just like today, in the military, when we go on missions, don't they log everything? No matter how dirty it is, they log it down. Yes, they log it down. Just like now, they did it back then. And all the information is here. That's why I can go into Dutch and French writings and read about how the Spanish and the Europeans used smallpox to kill Indians, how they used the Black Plague and onions and jars to contain the Black Plague and kill natives. I can read how the Europeans and the Portuguese, how they went to our native lands in America, and they would bring liquor and weapons and drop it off on the shores, and they'd teach us how to drink. They'd leave. We'd get all drunk, kill each other. After everything is happening, they'll come back and negotiate us out of our clothes. And we're so drunk that they'll take everything, our lands, even our families. They took advantage of us. I mean, I don't understand why it's so hard to see today. If you go to Vegas, you can have the white con man right there who's taught us to be con man. Right there is swindling you out of everything, telling you what he wants you to hear. So take it upon yourself. Don't believe what I tell you. Don't believe it if that's what it takes for you. But what I say is research what I tell and show you. Take it upon yourself and research. And don't just read something and say, oh, it's a fraud. Of course they're going to say it's a fraud. They've always said you're a fraud. You're the Quiche Mayans. What they tell you, oh, the Mayans is gone. They went with aliens. No, Negro, it's you. They enslaved your ass. my nose. They say the Aztecs. Oh, we don't know, the Aztecs disappeared. I got books. I got a book right here. I got a book right here. Saying that the Americans captured 7 million Aztec Negroes. Aztec Negroes. 7 million of you Negroes was Aztecs. And they say, oh, Asians and Africans built the railroads. Bullshit. Afro-Asiatics built the railroads, and they called your ass Negroes. And then they say they called you Asians. So they say, oh, Asians. Yeah, there was Asian people, but they were the shop owners. Yeah, they weren't doing no hard slave labor. Man, that's their cousins. Just like today, how they hold the Asian exempt over you, right next to them. They were doing it then too. How you think the North American Indians is now Mongoloids when they were Negroes? They had beards like this. You see this fucking beard? I can go like this. Gonna go right back to where it was. You see my hair? I can do whatever to it. Right back to where it was. There weren't Mongoloids in the Cherokee nations. There weren't Mongoloids in the Apache nations. These were Negro nations, and there's statues, there's mountains, there's places named after these Negroes. The books talk about it. If you look into pictures of people, they'll show Mongoloids. And if you look into ancient drawings of the same people, they'll show Negroes. You have to remember, sorry, not making any signs. No 666. I'm just excited. Alright, so you have to remember. Alright, let's get into this though. We're gonna go back into Lex, Kemetic Mystery Schools. Because I can go all day on this shit. Believe me, my family knows it. Alright. So they always say, oh, you got your 10 commandments from the 42 laws of Ma'at. See, you only got 10. And you only got 10, and we got 42. So you must have got yours from us. Because we predate you. We predate you. As they go, oh, we predate you, but I gotta let you guys know, we got the 10 commandments from Moses in 1447. This is saying 1427 to 1392. So if this is showing you that the law of Moses predates the dead of Maiherperi, and this predates the Papyrus of Annunaki, and that's the 42 laws of Ma'at. This predates it. Yet they want to say that the Bible came from them. Yet the laws of Hammurabi predates those. So we must understand that they really don't know what they're talking about. Or they know what they're talking about, but they're trying to hide it, right? Right? Check it out.
BCE. This is the Papyrus of Maiherperi. You're talking about between the years 1397 to 1388 BCE, or i.e. 1400 BCE, is the first time that you actually see the 42 laws of Ma'at enumerated in Kemet. Prior to that, you don't see the 42 laws of Ma'at nowhere in Kemet. What you do see in reference to Ma'at, you see it in the pyramid text, you see Ma'at herself. But you just see the feather on her head, and a glyph of Ma'at. But you do not encounter the 42 laws of Ma'at anywhere in Kemet until 1400 BCE in the Papyrus of Maiherperi, the very first recording of the 42 laws of Ma'at. This is very important to note because they state that the Torah comes out of Ma'at. So let me make this clear. Academia holds that the children of Israel, according to the early date, because the late date would mean that the children of Israel were contemporary with Ramses. Real Hebrews that study understand that the Ramses period of Israel being, or Hebrews being in Kemet, is actually wrong, and that is the late period. Hebrews being in Kemet is not during the Ramses period. Hebrews, according to academia, would have left Kemet in 1446 BCE, which happens to be the same year that academia holds that the Torah was given to Israel on Mount Sinai, 1446 BCE. The very first reference of the 42 laws of Ma'at is between the years of 1397 to 1388 BCE. So I have to ask you real quick, if you know how to do basic math, how in the hell can the 42 laws of Ma'at be the origin of the Torah when academia holds the very first reference of the 42 laws of Ma'at is in the Papyrus of Maiherperi, dated to 1397 to 1388 BCE. Academia also posits that the Torah was given to Israel in 1446 BCE. That means that the Torah was given to Israel before it appears in the Papyrus of Maiherperi. The Papyrus of Maiherperi is dated again to 1397 to 1388 BCE, and this is the very first appearance of the 42 laws of Ma'at. But maybe y'all might think I'm lying, so let me call in the brother Mfudiji in the next clip and have him speak truth to power. Let's get to the next clip.
In his tomb in the Valley of the Kings is the first record of the 42 oracles of Ma'at. Look at this black man. So the 42 oracles of Ma'at, where people are getting 10 commandments and everything, the first rendering of it comes from this guy's tomb.
Stop right there. Brother Basim, I need you to make sure that the PowerPoint is on that clip so that people can actually see it.
No problem. I'll do that now.
Okay. We're going to play that clip one more time. Before we play that clip, I'm going to say this again. The very first reference to the 42 laws of Ma'at is in the Papyrus of Maiherperi, a Nubian. The Papyrus of Maiherperi is dated to 1400 BCE. To be exact, 1392 to 1388 BCE. Academia holds that this is the very first appearance of the 42 laws of Ma'at inscribed anywhere in Kemet. You do not find the 42 laws of Ma'at anywhere in Kemet until 1397 BC to 1388 BC. But again, this is a Hebrew brother speaking, so maybe I'm incorrect or maybe I'm lying. So why don't we look at Kemet right now at one of their grandmaster teachers. Let's pull up the words of Mfudiji himself, and let's see what Mfudiji has to say about the very first time that the 42 laws of Ma'at appear in Kemet. Let's play that one more time.
Natural, so you don't have to take anybody's word for it. This guy, in his tomb in the Valley of the Kings, is the first record of the 42 oracles of Ma'at. Look at this black man. Yes, sir. So the 42 oracles of Ma'at, where people are getting 10 commandments and everything, the first rendering of it comes from this guy's tomb.
Okay, so I already see the buffoonery and the foolishness going on. In the comment box on Facebook, you have people saying Ma'at goes back older than that. Well, my brother, you would have to cite a source for the 42 laws of Ma'at in Kemet before 1397 BCE, or else cut that claim out because you're just doing what's called buffoonery right now. We're dealing with scholarship and we're dealing with academic right now. We're not dealing with any playing games right now. You're dealing with a whole different brother right now. I am not the brother that you may be used to. I am not the scholar that you may be used to. I'm a person that's
all right. Relax, buddy.
How was your first day back?
Get to hear this evening. I'm going to do it tomorrow morning so that you can actually look at it. And then when my brother from Global Media Inc., Basim, when he re-edits the video, and you only hear about the goddess. Why is it taking a Hebrew to teach you this? This is what you have to ask your own self. You have to ask yourself, why is it you've belonged to the Kemetic community for so many years, and the first time you were educated on this came from a Hebrew? That's something you have to seriously consider whenever you have a condescending thought about Hebrews. I want you to just think about that. Let that resonate. Let that sit real quick. Let that simmer. In this clip, the brother speaks about the divine masculine ma'ah, without the T. And he also speaks about the phonetic variation may, as it is pronounced in the Coptic language. What I found extremely interesting about that is that when you go into Sumer, all of the divine laws in Sumer carry the epithet or title me or mes. If anyone knows anything about cuneiform, be it Akkadian cuneiform, Sumerian cuneiform, or Assyrian cuneiform, you know that the S is also interchangeable with the T. So the Sumerians refer to their law as me or me'e or me'es. But because Sumerian cuneiform usually has a T at the end of it, that means the other alternate would be me'et. Sounds almost identical or phonetically identical to ma'at. Very interesting. Rewind to the clip that I said to skip to 50 Annunaki. I also have listed in there, you can see a differentiation between 7. So that, a differentiation between 8 of them. So that the number of the early period, as I stated earlier, is actually 42. So the idea of there being 42 lesser gods is actually postulated or posited first in Sumer in the year 2700 BC. Because when we open up what is known as the Enuma Elish, as well as the Gilgamesh epic, we find the names of all 50 deities in ancient Sumer, as well as all 42. And each one is associated with a particular city, and each one has a law associated with them, which is called May. As we saw in Kemet in the Coptic tongue, as you're going to hear when you play back the video, another variation of the term Ma'ah is May, when you're speaking Coptic. Very interesting, because Coptic is the language of what people? Cush. Sumerians are of what stock? They're not Europeans. So when you hear Kemetic teachers say, I can't mess with Zion, he messing with Sumerians. He's making Asian history over in African history. What is Zion Lex doing? I have to say that anyone who says that with a serious face and people actually pay attention to him, I'm trying to figure out a nice word. Maybe there's not a nice word. I don't know how you are looked at as a scholar in your community. And one of the star features that distinguishes this legal code from all legal codes but one is the epiphanous mention of eye for an eye. The only legal code on the face of this earth that you find the term eye for an eye is in the Torah. You don't find eye for an eye in the 42 laws of Ma'at. So again, I have to force you to pump your brakes when you say that the 42 laws of Ma'at is in the Torah. Yet, one of the most foundational principles of the Torah is an eye for an eye. And one of the most eye-catching themes of the Torah is an eye for an eye. Because whenever you have people discuss biblical law,
baby,
the one law that will come up in every single conversation on biblical law, whether it be in secular schools or whether it be in-house in the Hebrew schools, will always be eye for an eye. That is nowhere in Kemet. But guess where it is? We find it in Sumer. And we find it in the word neter correctly in Kemet. You know it's not neter, right? When you say neter, you're speaking of the New Kingdom pronunciation. Because the Old Kingdom pronunciation is neter, spelled N-E-T-J-E-R. The Middle Kingdom pronunciation is neter, N-E-T-C-H-E-R. But the one I'm focusing on is the oldest. The oldest given pronunciation for what is termed on the glyph as a flagpole, neter in the New Kingdom, is actually neger in the Old Kingdom. If you drop the D on the neger in Sumer, you have neter. For anyone who doesn't understand what I just did, it's called Linguistics 101. When you have a conceptual thought-based word that goes into another language.
Conceptual thought-based words. That's what I wanted to get.
Language, there's a phonetic shift or consonantal drift, where a letter or a consonant will be dropped and a vowel added or also dropped. If you drop the D in Sumeria of the neger, you just have neger. So that means one of the Sumerian terms for God is actually neger, just like we find in Kemet. If you haven't seen the amount of similarity that I've been showing you so far, it's going to get even more interesting. Let's go to the next clip.
Alright, so we're going to move on. You can watch it yourself. Zion Lex Mystery Schools. There's a lot of videos, so you don't need to worry. There's a bunch. But they go against some of your beliefs, but you'll get a lot of eggs in the basket. Alright?
We came together for Kemet on trial.
Not this one yet.
Explain why you say it ain't. Or it is. Okay, first and foremost. Extreme level of scholarship that I actually have in Torah. The Torah, from the perspective of the Hebrew text, does not exemplify anything that is anti-African. In fact, let's look at the word for one of the first African civilizations that the Torah speaks of in the book of Genesis chapter 2, Cush. Cush in Hebrew means dark. When you look at Cush from a Hebraic perspective, it literally means dark, either dark skin, Eden brought forth. And these 4 points connect with what is called modern anthropology today, which is the idea that when we go into Mesopotamia and when we go into ancient Africa, the very first civilizations to emerge in the world were melanated people. And the very first civilizations to emerge in the world were in the Nile Valley as well as the Tigris and the Euphrates Valley. I say that because we have tablets on record in ancient Sumeria which show you 3200 BC. We have tablets on record in ancient Kemet that show you 3100 BC, and some even say further. Nonetheless, you see that both correlate to the same time period. Now, when we start talking about 10,000 BC and 11,000 BC and 12,000 BC, the first thing I want to ask you from a historical point of view is, where's the writing? Because if you don't have writing from the 10,000 BC period, then we cannot deal with recordation in terms